Hey there, welcome to C&T Collectibles. I'm C. Hope you are doing well. All right, it is that time of year. Pitchers and catchers are reporting to spring training. We've got games starting up in about a week or so. So baseball well underway here for the fake season before the real stuff gets started. And it's always fun to take mathematical numbers and reduce these incredible athletes down to that, and write them off before the season even starts. So what I'm doing here, and I've done this in the past, is just go through the top few players at each position. We'll start off today with pitchers and catchers since they're already underway, and see who might be the top guys at the end of the season. So one thing I can guarantee is the list that I throw out here today is probably not going to be how it finishes. That's how it goes. Someone's going to outperform wildly and that wind up at the top, and you're going to have some guys that maybe get injured or fall off the pace a little bit from time to time, and then they won't wind up in the top five. But we do our best guess, and we'll just try to have some fun with it. So our top five pitchers and catchers for 2023. Start off with a few honorable mentions here. Number one is Spencer Strider, who stormed onto the scene last year with an elite level presence, nearly a 30% strikeout to walk ratio. Had a 2.67 ERA and a 1.83 FIP, so he pitched even better than the numbers showed here. And the rankings that I'm basing on are primarily on Fangraphs depth charts projections here. The background is provided by Baseball Savant. And what we're looking for is volume, how many innings pitched or at bats guys are getting, and then some few individual metrics and how they compare to other pitchers on that one. So Spencer Strider compares extremely favorably on what he can control in terms of fielding independent pitching, strikeouts, keeping the walks at a low level. But what he doesn't have control over just yet is innings pitched. He threw just 131 pitches innings last year, and he could climb upwards of 150, 160 this year. And so the projections are looking for a little bit of regression. But mostly what is keeping him off this list is just the volume. And once he gets up to 200 innings pitched, then I think we'll see him solidly in the top five if he continues to do what he does here. But until that volume it presents itself, then he's going to be on the outside looking in, but still an elite level presence on the mound, hopefully for years to come. Shane McClanahan, another honorable mention here, elite level pitcher with that strikeout to walk ratio last year, 2.5 ERA with a fielding independent pitching of 3. Projections have him moving back up towards that 3 level with a 3.5 wins above replacement, maybe 15 wins. He could do pretty well if the Rays are able to put together a nice season. Lots of red in the MLB percentile rankings in that upper right-hand corner, which is what would you like to see. But again, it is a volume issue. Until you can get up to 200 innings like most of these other players, that's going to keep you on the outside looking in. All right, let's get into our top five, and we'll start it off with Jacob deGrom. Missed some time last year, but when he was pitching, he was insane. It's 40% strikeout to walk ratio, 2.13 fielding independent pitching. And so what the projections are saying is, yeah, he's probably the best guy. He would probably be the number one if he were to get 200 innings. All right, 172 innings keeps him just on the outside looking in of that top five, but he's so good it does put him in the top five, but he's not really at the top. Now, if he comes out and throws 200 innings, then he's probably the best pitcher in baseball. I don't think anybody's expecting that as they work him back in, but if it happens, that is my caveat on this one here. So again, 30% strikeout to walk ratio. He's going to be among, when he does play, he will be among, if not the best pitcher in baseball. So he's able to control those the walks and strikeouts at an incredible level. It's really just about playing time for that one. Aaron Nola, who really did under the hood have an excellent season last year. He's on a team that didn't get him a lot of wins, not his fault. In the areas that he could control in terms of strikeouts and walks and fielding independent pitching, he was among the league's best. And so he pitched to a 2.5 FIP last year with a 6.3 ERA, 25% strikeout to walk ratio. 2023, more of the same here, 22% strikeout to walk ratio. Again, anything above 20% is a really, really good number. You get to 30%, you're elite. You're Jacob deGrom. So ERA 3.5 this year's projections, but his fielding independent pitching, he's able to outperform that on a consistent basis. So if he was right in that 3 area, it would not be surprising with a 4.6 WAR or something like that. So again, elite level stuff here. Let's see if he can get a little bit of help from some of the additions the Phillies have made in the offseason. Carlos Rodon, terrific season last year, 180 innings pitched. They're looking for more of the same this year. Strikeout to walk ratio, the projections don't have him changing a whole lot. He was terrific last year. They expect him to be terrific this year. The ERA of about 2.9 with a fielding independent pitching of 2.25. With a 6.2 wins above replacement, was among the league's best last year. So we're looking for a repeat of that What he can control, the strikeout to walk ratio, still in that elite level 25% range, fielding independent pitching. It's really tough for projection systems to project guys, at some of the extremes. They're not going to just say, oh, this guy should have a 2 ERA this year, or this guy's going to have a 7 ERA. Things happen in the season, so they're more middle of the road, but he is able to outperform these projections on a consistent level here. So we shall see what he does this year. If it's more of the same from last year, then yeah, he's a top 3 type pitcher here. Number 2, Corbin Burnes. He's insane, and the Milwaukee Brewers may have made a bit of a mistake pissing him off in his arbitration hearing, so we'll see how that plays out longer term. He may be motivated because of that, so he didn't get paid, and the Brewers made a little bit of fun of him, saying he was the reason they didn't get to the playoffs, which is ridiculous, and so that's how it goes. But these are humans, and that stuff can bother them, and maybe this fires them up a little bit. 12 wins last year, looking for 13 wins this year. Nearly 200 innings pitched with an elite strikeout to walk ratio, ERA around 3, fielding independent pitching just below that. Last year is a little bit unlucky. Projections think this year he will get a little bit lucky and even improve on his wins above replacement. So I think he's one of the best pitchers of the game. Projections think he's one of the best pitchers in the game. I certainly wouldn't bet against that, all things considered. And our number 1 pitcher, Garrett Cole. All right. He usually finds his way at the top of these rankings because he's very consistent. That helps him stay at the top of preseason rankings. It hurts him towards the end of the season because he is so consistent. He's not he's not like the Verlander type that's going to completely outperform their metrics, their projections, and blow away the competition. He does what he does. It's very, very, very good. And so unless you can pick out that guy that's going to completely outperform every possible metric and wind up at the top, this is the reasonable number 1. So wins last year 13. He's on a team that's going to put up some runs. You look for that. Look for the wins to be a little bit higher perhaps this year. 200 innings. Just mark it down. Mid strikeout to walk ratio, 25%. Again, elite level stuff. DeGrom is the only one that's really going to beat him consistently on something like that if he's able to put up a similar amount of innings. ERA around 3, fielding into pitching around 3. Is a little bit unlucky last year. He should be able to correct that this year with that team. But you can see that he doesn't give up a lot of hard hit, exit velocity, and the things that he does control, he does very, very well. So again, if you're going to pick the number 1 and it's not going to be something like a Burnes or a Cole, then you're going to have to guess who's going to outperform their projections to a significant degree. So there's our top 5 pitchers. Let's move on to catchers real quick. Going forward, we'll just do the position by position, but these two, yeah, they're spring training. They're tied together a little bit. So number 5, Sean Murphy, making his way over to the Atlanta Braves last year. With catchers in general, you're looking for a lot of plate appearances. You want volume, and he's a guy that played a ton of games, got a lot of plate appearances. He's about a 250 average guy, but weighted on base average and OPS are among the elites for the catchers. There's a pretty significant drop off once you get past the Sean Murphy types. These top 5 here. So 338 weighted on base average. 776 OPS, weighted runs created. He's well above average with a sitting between 4 and 5 wins above replacement. They're looking for a little bit of regression this year if he doesn't get the same amount of volume, which could certainly be the case. We'll see how that plays out. But again, once you get past Sean Murphy, it starts to get a little bit rough at the catcher position. He does have excellent exit velocity. There's some swing and miss to his game. But he is certainly among the league's best. All right, JT Realmuto, who was number 1 last year at the catcher position, and we'll see. He could cement himself as the number 1 going forward in the National League with Yachty stepping aside here. But the projections say, you know what, it was a pretty incredible season last year, something that you don't do very often. If you look at in 2022 at 11.3% barrel rate, that's that sweet combination of launch angle and exit velocity. His career average is about 7.2%. He's been upwards he's been into the double digits in the past, but he regressed the following year. So again, looking for some regression, but nice amount of plate appearances, average in that 260 area. Weighted on base 332, OPS 765. Again, last year that 820 OPS is pretty darn insane, and that's what it's going to take. Again, you're going to have to really outperform if you want to beat some of these projections here. 113 weighted runs created. He was elite level stuff last year. This year, very, very good. 4.5 to 5 wins above replacement, which seems reasonable unless he's able to barrel up the ball. If he has a skill change in his inning approach, and he's able to continue to last year, then yeah, he'll be a lot higher than this. If he regresses to what he's done, for most of his career, that's still very, very good. There's no question about it, but probably not what he did last year. Alejandro Kirk, maybe the best pure hitter in the catcher group here. Last year he had 541 plate appearances. This year they're looking for 500. I bet he beats that one because he does bring a pretty steady bat to the lineup. Last year's a 285 hitter, so looking for him to regress just slightly from that weighted on base average. One of the higher numbers that you're going to see from catchers at 352 OPS, around 800, with a 130 weighted runs created, which is elite level stuff. Wins above replacement around 4. His defense isn't awesome, and that's a big component to the defensive wins above replacement. But he does bring one of the better sticks to the game here. And whether you're using this for card purposes, fantasy purposes, we're more interested in the offense anyways. All right. Will Smith, this is our number 2 catcher. Terrific season last year and the year before, and really since he's come into the league. And we would expect that to continue here. He gets a healthy amount of plate appearances in that mid 500. He hit about 260 with a 350 weighted on-base average. Again, that's the best we've seen so far from the catcher position, with an 800 OPS, pretty steady on that one, with 130 weighted runs created. This is an elite level bat. Last year was about a 4-win player. This year, looking for him to improve on that just a little bit. So he's able to manage the strike zone fairly well. He doesn't have a huge amount of pop, but it's pretty good for a catcher. But he hits the ball solidly and consistently. All right, our number 1 catcher, I don't think it's a huge surprise after what he did last year, is Adley Rutschman. Last year was his rookie season. Came up pretty close to the beginning of the season, but this year he should be able to increase his workload just a little bit. Here's a 250 hitter with a 350 weighted on base average. Okay, so that is among the elite. You throw him in with the Kirk and the Will Smith. OPS around 800, weighted runs created around 130, elite level stuff here. It's got a little bit better defense, perhaps than Will Smith, and so this is where his wins above replacement maybe creep ahead of him a bit. Those are kind of your top 2. Really, it's Smith, Rutschman, and Kirk, kind of your top 3, and then it starts to drop off down there unless you see the Real Muto and the Murphys of the world really outperform their projections, which again doesn't happen consistently, but does happen from time to time. But yeah, Adley Rutschman, if you look at his pop time to second base, how quickly he can get that throw off in his frame, very excellent defensive catcher, and he brings a pretty big stick to boot there. So does it all, and no reason to think that won't continue, and he could be in this spot for a long time. That's what I got for you. We'll move on to some first baseman next week. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, do all that kind of good stuff, and we will talk to you later. Bye.